Hey everybody, this is Bill. I am the Salty Old Marine. I want to talk for a moment about something we call a buddy letter. You may hear that mentioned from time to time. People talk about putting buddy letters in their VA disability claims. So what is a buddy letter? Let's break that down. First of all, the correct form is called a Form 21-4138. 21-4138. And I'll put a link to that in the description. It is a PDF form that you can download, print out, and have somebody fill out on your behalf. It's actually called a lay witness statement. So buddy letter is the informal term for it, but everybody calls it that, so let's just call it that. So what's a buddy letter? Okay, when you're filing a VA disability claim, if you have witnesses who observed the actual incident in question, or have knowledge of you talking about that while you were in the service, and what it did to you, how it affected you, right? You can ask them to fill out a buddy statement, a buddy letter. You give them this form, and basically they provide some information about themselves, nothing too specific, name, address, phone number, that sort of thing, and then a statement of what they saw, when they saw it, how it affected you, and so on. And let's be real clear here. It's important to you that when you ask your friend or your spouse, it could be a spouse, right? When you ask that person to fill out a buddy letter, it's important that first you understand it's a sworn statement. It's important that they tell the truth. It's important that they not lie. I had a mention in one of my comments recently from someone who said that they were approached by a person they served with a long time ago who asked them to write a buddy letter about something that was completely bogus. Ooh, that's bad mojo. And this person very appropriately told them to go pound sand. And you should. And you should not ask people to fill out buddy letters for things that didn't happen. That, my friends, is fraud. And for fraud, people go to jail. And I suspect that that could include somebody who filled out a buddy letter, including as well as the person who actually was filing that fraudulent claim. Don't do that. Don't, please. However, let's say that you were in a car accident while you were in the military, and you received a TBI. So you got a smack in the head, right? And it caused some problems. It caused some symptoms. Now, let's say further that you did not go to medical care for that. You did not go to sick bay. You did not go to sick call. You did not see anybody about that. You took some Motrin and you soldiered on, because that's what a lot of us did. And in fact, as it turns out, when I was in Okinawa, I was involved in a car crash on my way to the PX in a privately owned vehicle. And because I was on my lunch hour, I didn't want to be late getting back, so I just hoofed it back to my barracks, and I didn't say anything to anybody. I think there was a police report, but it didn't list me as being in the car because I had boogied. All right, so, and by the way, I'm not claiming a TBI for that. It's just a memory of mine. But I'm using that as an example, right? So let's say that I had a TBI from that, and I was going to claim a VA disability for that. Because there is no record of me being in that car when that accident happened, there's no medical record because I didn't go to sick bay. What can I do? Well, if I have a friend of mine that I'm still in contact with, or that I can find somehow online, through Together We Served, or Facebook or whatever, and I find that buddy and I say, hey, do you remember that car accident in Okinawa on base? Oh yeah, I remember that. Man, you were out of it for like 3 minutes. You were just like, yeah, hey, listen, man, I'm having some problems with that. I've been diagnosed with a TBI. I think it's related to that. Would you help me out with a buddy letter? If they agree, and again, telling the truth, what I want them to put in that buddy letter: what happened? Car accident. When did it happen? Don't have to be specific. Approximate is okay. Well, let's see. I was on Okinawa in 1983 and 84. Would have been springtime, probably May, I think, or May or June, something like that. Don't know the date. It was lunchtime. I know that much. So whatever you know, that goes in there, right? What happened? Okay, we were in a privately owned vehicle. We were going from our barracks, which was the Provost Marshal's office barracks, to the Mainside PX up on top of the hill at Camp Butler. And as we passed by the gate, we got T-boned, right? And I remember the accident, and I remember that the salty old Marine here, Bill, he got quite a knock. It knocked him from one side of the car to the other side of the car, and he was out cold, man, for like 2 or 3 minutes. And when he came to, he was babbling and incoherent. And he didn't want to stick around and go for the police report. He didn't want to go to sick bay. He was worried about being late from getting back from chow. So as soon as he got his senses back together, he just deed him out. He just boogied down the hill. Okay, great, fantastic. That's what a buddy letter can consist of. It can also add, for example, let's say this same person was my roommate and knew for 6 months after that accident that I would complain about my headaches. I'm making this up. I'm assuming that I assume that I'm using this as an example, right? So let's say that buddy says, yeah, I was his roommate, and not only do I remember the accident, I remember him telling me about his headaches, his terrible, terrible headaches. He kept a bottle of Motrin on his desk drawer, and he was just constantly popping those things like candy after the accident, and he was always complaining about how that accident caused those headaches. Fantastic. That's gold. Put that in the buddy letter. Make sure they sign it. They're signing it under penalty of perjury. So again, tell the truth. Do not exaggerate. Do not lie. That would be fraud. But make sure that everything is in there that accurately and completely describes the cause of the disability that you're currently claiming. That's the power of a buddy letter. If you can get one, great. If you can get two, fantastic. If you can get a whole bunch of them, your whole platoon writes letters for you, that's golden, man. The VA puts a lot of weight in that because, again, it is a sworn statement, right? So it is evidentiary. It is something that they can use. It's something that they can accept in lieu of there was no accident report, or there was an accident report, but your name wasn't on it. You didn't go to sick call. You didn't complain about migraines or TBIs or headaches or anything else for years afterwards, right? All of those things would be negatives. They would tend to disprove that what you're claiming actually happened. But a good buddy letter can really do you well. So that is the purpose of a lay statement, the so-called buddy letter, right? The buddy letter is not to say that they support you. It's not to say that they think you're a great person. It's not to talk about your character, your honesty. Those are all important things, but that's not important to the VA for the purposes of this VA disability claim. What the buddy letter is for is to describe the who, what, when, where, how, why, how often, how severe, all of those things that that person knows about personally. Not that they heard about secondhand or third hand, or you told them years later and they go, I don't really remember it, but I'm your buddy, so I'll write it down. No. This is for personal observation, right? It is as objective as they can make it rather than subjective, right? It's about what occurred and how it affected you, not about how they feel about you as a person. So now we know what goes into a buddy letter. We're going to put that link in the description. Buddy letters can be powerful. Use them in your claim if appropriate, right? If you have friends or a spouse or someone who can attest to and is willing to attest to what happened, when it happened, how it made you feel, what it did to you, what the ongoing effects were, any of those things, right? Use that. It's a powerful, powerful tool. I hope you found this helpful. This is Bill. I am the salty old Marine. Please like, share, subscribe, drop a comment. Tell me about buddy letters. Have you used buddy letters? What did they say? I mean, don't be too specific. I don't want your personal details, but, explain the basics, right? Talk about how you used a buddy letter and whether or not it was useful to you. As always, have a great day.